Hello and welcome to Wednesday in Westeros, the return. I'm Taylor Trask.
And I'm Todd A.
I
was gonna say it, but you can say it. If you're listening to this on the Panelism feed, your lines have not been crossed. Taylor and I run another podcast called Wednesday in Westeros, where, as you can imagine, we talk about Game of Thrones. And because this is the last season, and you may have forgotten that Wednesday in Westeros existed, or you may never have known. That's right. We're running this episode on both feeds, so we hope you will go look for Wednesday in Westeros in your favorite podcast app and subscribe. We may end up doing the finale in the Panelism feed as well, although I'm springing that on Taylor at this moment. But otherwise,
this is like a telethon, Todd. This is like when alternate programming interrupts your viewing of The Office on a Thursday night, and they go, please, we'll be back throughout these commercial breaks to appeal to you. That's what we're doing to you, Panelism listeners. We're saying we want you to support this other little show, and hey, like Todd said, there may be surprises along the way. Who knows? It's anything can happen. So
yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, I didn't come up with a suitable other analogy for it. So yeah, we're interrupting your regularly scheduled comic book talk to talk about a thing that comic book nerds are probably following anyway, which is Game of Thrones.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
I was going to say we have covered now, Todd, season 5, 6, and 7 on this show, and then I think bits of season 4, which appeared, if you're listening on Panelism, those are earlier episodes of Panelism, and in the early days when it was called the Todd and Taylor Show, we would sneak the occasional Game of Thrones episode in until it just became so overwhelming that it just became its own show. Hence, there's 2 different shows. So we're here today to preview season 8, the final season, the final 6 episodes of this entire crazy ride that will either give the fans exactly what they want, or cause George R.R. Martin to never write another book again, just give up completely, or none of the above. What say you?
You have hinted at so many things. There's no way I can answer that in a succinct way, because that touches on so many items that we're going to talk about in today's episode. I will tell you that anytime someone says season 8, I kind of flip out a little bit. I don't know why. I'm still like, wow, it's 8 seasons and really 9 years, I guess, right? Because we didn't have anything at all last year. Am I correct? That sounds so crazy.
We did not. You're right.
In 2018, there was nothing.
Yep.
Okay.
That is correct.
Oh boy. Well, also, I wonder about this frustration question, which I'm sure, will readers or watchers, or will you be upset with who lives and who dies? Will you be upset with how the story ends, how the threads are tied off, if they're not tied off? Because I watched I don't know if you watched. I watched a summary of all 7 seasons that I can't remember who did this online. It was like Game Master or something. Mm-hmm. Can you hear the lawnmower?
I thought you were gonna put some Game of Thrones spin on that sound. Like, the White Walkers are coming. Help me.
Yeah, I mean that's the only way, is to really dead alive this, right? You just grab. That's the one where he grabs the lawnmower and just starts chopping through the zombies, right?
Probably.
Classic Peter Jackson movie.
I've never seen it, sadly, but yes, I know of which you speak.
I mean, it's no Meet the Feebles, but which has disturbed me to my core for years.
Wow, I haven't heard that mentioned for years.
I lost my thread, but anyway, So when
it's saying the words "Meet the Feebles." It's saying the words "Meet the Feebles," like summoning the Candyman. Like when we start seeing it on.
You say it one more time, then.
Well, we start seeing it on Netflix and Amazon now, just as like a recommended movie, that just keeps following us around.
If we had a large enough following, I would say Google bomb Game of Thrones Meet the Feebles right now. That's what we need, is all the pornography and violence of Game of Thrones translated into puppets, directed by Peter Jackson of 1987 or something.
Oh my God.
Anyway, on this rewatch, it was freshly planted in my mind several frustrations of the previous season, and really just 7. And not that I didn't enjoy every second of it at the time when I was watching it, But there were definitely some moments during my rewatch and then watching the summary where I went like, oh yeah, the Arya Sansa like weird little feud was dragged out for like 5 episodes, yeah, things like that. So I mean, we're in it, right? So let me throw this question to you. Did you do any rewatch?
I did. I watched a couple key episodes just to get back, just, because I have not watched any of it since that last episode. That last episode left such a lasting impression in my mind with that, the new White Walker dragon available in toy stores now, kids. That new White Walker dragon, like tearing down the wall and them going like, that was such an iconic moment. It's like, I didn't want to sully that with other stuff, but as the season was drawing closer, I'm like, you know what? I just need to hear that. I need to see that opening intro again. I need to hear that music because I almost forgot what it was like to watch the show. I'm like, I need to make sure I'm tied and tethered mentally back into it, so it doesn't just feel like some complete and total mind shock every time. So I watched a couple, and I wanted to go back specifically to episodes by the gentlemen who are directing this season. And there's 2 guys. Hang on here. My notes just got all out of whack. There's 2 guys 6 episodes, 2 guys who have directed before. One we have talked about, and I've blown up on this show numerous times, Miguel Sapochnik. I'm just pulling up the thing now. He is directing 2 of the episodes. He is most known for Hardhome and Battle of the Bastards and other amazing episodes too, but those are kind of the big 2 in terms of the big fight episodes, the big battle episodes. So my guess is he's directing either one or both of the White Walker invades, climactic episodes, assuming that there's more than just one. So to prepare for that, I'm like, well, what's that going to feel like? What's that going to be like? What should we be anticipating? I went back and rewatched Hardhome, and 2 things there that were really interesting. One, how much of the episode of Hardhome was actually devoted to the Battle of Hardhome and in percentage?
I'm a little clued in here because I did rewatch it, but I think it's only like 10% of the episode, maybe 20%.
Yeah, it's the last 15 to 20 minutes.
Because I know when I rewatched it, I was sort of shocked to remember that. And it's especially shocking in light of 2 of the other huge battle episodes, Battle of the Bastards and Blackwater. Yep. Which the entire episode is a battle,
Yeah. So I was convinced that entire thing, because I'm like, well, I was just mentally going back through the beats. It's like, okay, so John and his posse get up to Hardhome. They negotiate. They talk about whether or not they should do this. Then they start loading the boats, and the battle happens. And John goes back, and like all these things occur that I could have swore took an hour to occur at the rate in which they did. So you get this just unbelievably kinetic frenzy, just madness of this White Walker invasion. It was the first time we'd ever seen the White Walkers truly invade like that, where we got to see the full kind of blast of their power. So imagine the White Walkers invade Winterfell episode. That's going to be exhausting, right?
Oh boy.
So then do you take what could be, just do one episode and just knock it out of the park and then just get the White Walkers out of the way? Or do you drag it out into 2 or 3 episodes? Where do you fall on that line?
I don't know. Maybe you raise a really good point, which and it's the conundrum of this whole season. Like, is it really that we just want to see a few dramatic moments and like 2 or 3 huge battles, mm-hmm. or is there more to it than that? Mm-hmm. Because we know at the end of season 7, the Army of the Dead's over the wall. Like they're walking into the not necessarily green, but the fields of the North. How long does it take him to get to Winterfell? Gendry ran from that island where they all were to the wall in 20 minutes or something, despite having taken 3 days to hike out there.
Yeah.
And so presumably, they'll be there. I guess when Ned kills that guy at the wall in the first season, he's up there in an afternoon and then he's back for dinner. So you know, it could be first episode. And then again, is it, you know, we'll get to this in our speculate wildly section at the end of this episode, but I don't know. Will the White Walkers be beaten in? I guess this is what you're asking. Will they be beaten in one episode, or is the threat going to be?
Here's the best way to figure this out. Here are the directors in order. Episode 1, David Nutter. Episode 2, David Nutter.
And what has Nutter done before?
Yeah, I was just going to say that was the other episode I pre-watched. He directed The Reigns of Castamere and Misa. Sorry.
Yeah.
So think about this. You've got the guy, Miguel Sapochnik, who directed the signature battle episodes of the show, plus that amazing Winds of Winter episode, which is the last of season 6. That's the one where Cersei blows everything up, and it's almost like a silent film for the first 15, 20 minutes, because it's just that haunting piano music while all these things fall into place. Remember that? Remember how after the Battle of the Bastards, and you're just like, Jesus. And then we get that episode from the same guy. So you get Sapochnik on one side, you get Nutter on the other. But I would say these two guys alone have directed probably the most iconic episodes, with Sapochnik on the grander scale and David Nutter with these really small, like very interesting, intimate sort of character studies.
So wait, did Nutter do the Cersei blowing up the Sept?
No, that was Miguel Sapochnik.
Oh, that was.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Because I was going to say that sequence, you know, of the spooky piano music. I bet that sequence is as long as Hardhome.
It might be.
Like just the lead up to the explosion, up to Tommen's suicide.
It was breathtaking.
Yeah.
It was breathtaking. And so you get these two guys, and then the last episode is appropriately directed by Benioff and Weiss themselves, which makes perfect sense. That's a long-standing showrunner tradition. To ensure that your baby ends exactly like you want it to. So that'll be really exciting to see. They haven't really directed hardly at all, especially lately. They haven't
exactly.
Any of their stuff. So outside of them, you get, in my mind, the two heaviest hitting directors that I think we've had. No disrespect to the guy who directed Hold the Door and all that stuff. There's plenty of moments, but I mean, in terms of pound for pound, these two guys, if you're gonna wrap up this show. And really represent everything that we've come to love, look at their episodes, and they really cover the most interesting, most, I think, liked elements of Game of Thrones thematically. And so that's really exciting. But to go back to your point real quick, to go back to your question, Michael Sapochnik does the third one, Nutter does the fourth one, then Sapochnik does the fifth one, Benioff and Weiss do 6.
Oh, yeah. So you're figuring it's like battle in the third one, battle in the fifth one. Nutter and Benioff and Weiss setting the table at the beginning and then tying it up at the end. I like that speculation. And I don't remember exactly what my comment was going to be about those directors, but I was gonna rein you in a little bit and pull back to that rewatch before we speculate too much about what when we think. Like, I was afraid we were going to start getting into our predictions and stuff.
Yes.
I did in January and February rewatch every season.
What?
In order.
God, that must have been exhausting.
It was. I mean, it wasn't. I couldn't be as attentive, obviously, as. Well, I mean, I'm just not going to be attentive through 7 seasons of that. So often I was doing dishes or something with it playing in the background or whatever.
Todd, how dare you?
I know.
Shame.
But I did make it through them. And it's hard. So because I crammed so many in, it's hard to say certain things stood out.
Does season 5 still suck as much as it did?
I don't think it's around. I think on rewatching the whole thing, because you're not living with it week to week, I don't think it sucks. I just think there's and I don't want to say it's a pattern, but there's definitely like several episodes through the whole series where you feel like, oh boy, like it's just, get over this. Like, and season 5 may have had more of those moments.
Okay, that's fair.
But I do think there were some, good moments in that season. Yeah. And especially when you watch it all in bulk, it's kind of hard to differentiate what happened in each season. So when I watched that YouTube summary today, it was helpful where it was like, okay, season 5, and then he would speed through the main events of season 5.
You know what other show has that same condition after the fact, where you sort of breeze through it? You're less aware of the lesser episodes. Battlestar Galactica. I can't even imagine what it must have been like to watch that thing on a weekly basis back in the day, because that was prior to binging. That snuck in right under the wire. They would have just made it and put it out in one shot now. But they put that thing out, and like you watch some of those episodes, and you can kind of fast forward through a lot of stuff that slows you down, and you remember the stuff that really, really worked, and you kind of give the whole series a much higher rating as a whole, I think. Whereas if you really stopped and paid attention, you'd be like, wait, what? Anyway.
Yeah, I think Game of Thrones has probably benefited so much from the binge movement, because it was easier to like kind of onboard people. Like you're not having to, figure it out. It's just sort of like, hey, watch it on your own speed,
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would really hurt them if they did release seasons all at once, because you wouldn't have that breathing room that you need between episodes. Like when I do binge it, it's like, it's overwhelming.
Well, especially in that last season. Oh God. Like the further you get into the season, the more overwhelming, because the stakes get bigger and bigger. And like the big, oh my God moments become more plentiful, and just, it kind of keeps amping up.
Yeah. Maybe that's a good time for me to insert my, my conversation starter, even though we've started the conversation. Did any gross moments stand out to you on your rewatches?
And then granted, I didn't watch them all like you did, but I was sort of thinking back through that. I did go back and look at all the episode sort of summaries from every season, just to kind of remind myself of what went where, organizationally. So, anything involving Theon, pretty much, anything he does or has done to him. Anything that involves Ramsay.
You're being pretty broad there. I got 2 very specific scenes.
I mean, but it's all sort of just, when you really take count of it, it's all pretty terrible. Now, when you say gross, are you saying like, oh, I can't look at it, or like morally repugnant in terms of being, or all of the above?
I don't know. I just thought it was this occurred to me as I watched the summary video, which helpfully pulled out my 2 grossest moments and like stuck. I mean, they were in that summary. So I was oh, great. I'm watching a 16-minute summary and I get to watch the 2 grossest things. Although I just thought of a third. The actual grossest thing that I don't think I've ever watched like full on eyes open is the mountain killing Oberyn.
Oh yeah, God, I forgot about that entirely.
And it is like right out of the book.
Yeah,
and so it was disturbing in the book, which is one of those things where I know just the debate of like whether George R.R. Martin is a good writer of fiction. Like that's a topic I could talk about for a long time. I think the Red Wedding in the book is written really clumsily, because I remember when I read it and I was like, I got to reread that to make sure that what I think happened really happened. Yeah. But the mountain killing Oberyn was like that visceral and gross in the book. And so when it happened in that literal way, and I knew it was about to happen, I was just like turning my head away, like I can't watch this. But the actual 2 grossest moments, which are clearly in my mind, I'm saying this to be funny, but I still think they're very gross. One is the very first scene of Tyrion and the expression on his face as he's getting a blowjob from a prostitute.
Whoa.
Which bothers me to no end.
I never thought I'd hear that one. Wow. You're going way back.
So gross. And I think it sort of sticks out because at the time in season 1, a lot of us were like, what is up with this accent he's doing?
Yeah.
Where do you think he's from? I think it's gotten better over time, or at least we've adjusted to it. And then the second gross is of course, the 14-year-old boy breastfeeding.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. I was, those things actually trump Theon or Ramsay for the most part. All right. I'm going to side with you. My order now is going to be the mountain killing Oberon, followed immediately by the breastfeeding of a 12-year-old boy. That was, wow, I had completely forgot, because so many things go through your mind during that scene. You're like, one, am I really looking at this? Yes, I am. Number two, how the hell did they shoot this? How on earth did they technically make this happen?
Like, I mean, they just did it. I think like that is a thing that stuck out to me on the rewatch, and not that I like paid that much attention to it, but it absolutely struck me when rewatching. Like, gross, those two actors had to do that. You know, that's the thought that went through my head.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, that's that. Now I'm wondering what else I've forgotten that might like haunt my dreams. Like,
So we've already kind of recapped.
Can I throw one more in there, and just one more? And so since we're going back to the very first episode or episodes, I would say this isn't as visually gross as it is just unsettling, to the same degree of discomfort. The first time that Daenerys gets raped by what the hell, Jason Momoa? What the hell is this?
Khal Drogo.
Khal Drogo. There we go. I know him more by Jason Momoa. Aquaman rapes Daenerys. No, just that scene where he is so giant and she is so little, and just like the whole thing. I mean, and it's shot like the cover of a romance novel, and you're just like, just everything about it was just uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable.
You saying that makes me realize how much I had tried to shut that out of my mind, because I remember, and especially in that first season, like, isn't there one where doesn't Viserys like undress her, or like he pulls open her robe or something?
Yeah,
there's some really uncomfortable thing with her nudity when Emilia Clarke is so young.
Yeah,
and then in knowing like she's playing, the sister of this person.
Yeah,
and he does something like, I mean, obviously Viserys does several disgusting things, but I know there was a moment in that where it was like, oh boy. So it's I don't know. We're gonna see some more gross stuff, I guess. I'm not exactly excited about that part of it. We did already sort of catch up with like where we left off.
Yeah.
At the end of the season, the army of the dead coming through the wall. John just fucked his aunt.
Tyrion probably knows. Jury's still out, but like that whole scene where Tyrion's in the hallway looking, where he's just like, oh shit,
I'm finally gonna tell her I love her. So
I don't. Whoa. Okay.
No. I don't really think that.
Some people really do, though, and I've never understood. I'm like, that is wishful thinking shipping at its finest. Like, there's nothing. He never indicated once, like, well, why is he so concerned? I'm like, because he just spent his whole life fleeing his incestuous brother and sister who's created the demon from hell, and now here he is finally having ascended to find somebody good, and you two people with good pure hearts who happen to be related, now they're doing it. Although I don't know, Tyrion doesn't know that Jon is.
I don't know. He may be Jon's brother. He's still a secret Targaryen on the secret Targaryen list, possibly. So maybe he's just feeling left out.
God, if Tyrion ends up being a secret Targaryen, I'm gonna get one of those vuvuzelas and just be like,
I am so upset that we're not going to get that one scene that we wished for a couple of years ago, which is like the whole, the dust is settling on Westeros. There's like all these just piles of dead bodies, and these just zombies and very injured humans walking around, and there's just Gendry in the rowboat, like finally getting back to like Dragon Keep or whatever it is.
God, can you imagine if they actually pulled that off? Oh Jesus! It's too late now, but yeah.
And of Viserys the Merman, right? Isn't that what we also figured out? Boy, that went off also. But I do think the significance of the Jon scene with Dany at the end of season 7 is that that's part of the table setting that has to be done at the beginning of this season. Is that Sam has, like, that knowledge has to be explained, like who Jon is and all that. And do you think there's going to be drama in Winterfell when they realize that the person they've just shouted as King of the North is not a Stark?
Oh, 100%. May I direct you to one Lady Lyanna Mormont, who has proven time and again that she is more than capable of being the Queen of the North. She's just not doing so because she has everything in perspective. She's like, look, I could be all your queen in a second. I'm going to sit back because Bear Island is just that awesome. And let's try to do a little bit more of a democratic thing. So keep in mind, that actress is going to be 2 years older now. So it's going to be curious to see how that comes off.
11.
It'll
be so weird if she comes back like in a Bran moment where she's like super tall and walking and her voice has changed and we're like, wait, who is this?
Everybody will be Googling.
Why did they replace that actor?
Yeah. And the Google searches for that night will be furiously like, where's the real Lyanna Mormont actor? It's like, look, I grew up. Give me a break.
I don't know that we shared it on the air, but I think I did tell you one of my favorite behind the scenes theories of this based on the book reading and stuff, which is that Lyanna is, so there's always this thing about Tormund sleeping with a bear. And so there is a theory that Lyanna Mormont is the child of that, because the women of Bear Island, there were rumors in the book that they could actually skin change into bears.
Okay.
And so that he's not like, so that Tormund is both being literal and figurative when he says he once slept with a bear. And that Lyanna is the child of that coupling.
God.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Well, she's got his feistiness, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, would Sansa become Queen of the North? Is that what we're looking at? Or I don't know.
See, Jon, it's clear Jon doesn't want it. Really.
Yeah, exactly.
He's only doing it so that he's only using it as a means to an end. He's like, look, never wanted this. I think he'd be more than happy to turn it over to Sansa, and there'll probably be some, hand waving, and it's like, like, is he gonna do it? And he's like, no, I'm gonna do it. Like, there'll be that scene where it's like, look, you should have always been queen, Sansa. And then she just, she's finally got what she wants. Arya as her, little private assassin. Jon's got what he wants. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Clearly there's going to be a kid involved in the Dany Jon relationship. So what?
I don't know.
It's gotta.
The other thing I wonder about is how and there's no convenient way to bring this up, but is the time span of this season, which is because I've wondered about the kid thing too. But presumably this season is starting off like the moment the last season ended.
Really?
Because I would assume because the walkers came through the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it would be terrible if they sort of hand waved like 6 months later, I could see if they had not had the Army of the Dead come through the wall.
Yeah, they could.
That we could start the season off with her being pregnant, and you're trying to figure out how that happened. But I do think there's something to that prediction that she won't have children, or however that went down.
Oh yeah, the witch,
Mary Mazdur or whatever her name was.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's equal like ways to read it that Jon is the only one who, she had to find another Targaryen to.
We'll know if that's the case. If like we've said before, if in the flashback. Before the episode, if we see the scene of the witch, in season 1 telling her that, it's like, oh well, clearly the kid is going to be a discussion topic. Like they kind of need to do almost like a 15-minute like thing before the episode begins that literally reminds us of all the different prophecies that have been unleashed over the last 7 seasons. Like, here are the ones that have been fulfilled, here are the ones that were bogus, and here are the ones that are still questionable. Like, is the Lord of Light a real thing? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
All this stuff.
I thought you were going to say we'll know it's the case that she's pregnant when she and Jon go to like a casual dinner with all their friends, and she's like, "No wine for me tonight." the way that we find out all our friends are pregnant.
Oh my god!
Wait, why aren't you drinking tonight?
Then and Lyanna Mormont sitting beside her, she's like, "All women of the North drink. It is our custom." And she pushes the goblet forcefully towards her, and she's like, "No, I really don't. It is our custom.
Come to the ladies' room with me." And then they look it up. Anyway, one good point to start us with also is, where is everybody? I think there's some big obvious ones. Like, we know Brienne, the Starks, the Targaryens, they are all at Winterfell.
Yeah. Tormund's headed their way.
Actually, Daenerys. Wait, is Daenerys at Dragonstone, or is she?
Daenerys and Jon are on the boat.
That's right. But were they headed to Winterfell?
They were heading to Dragonstone, I thought.
Oh boy, I do not remember.
So they're heading. They're on the boat heading south or thereabouts.
Okay. And
everybody else is there.
Far south. Arya's in the north. Bran's in Winterfell. Jaime's headed presumably to Winterfell. But I think we just left with him like in the far south as it was snowing. I don't think we saw him make any, he didn't traveling a great distance at the end of the season, right?
No, I don't believe so. Correct us if that's wrong.
At Tormund, I'm trying to remember who was on the wall as it got destroyed. Like, we're fairly sure Tormund got out alive.
They wouldn't kill him off in an off-screen moment. He's going to have some heroic end if he's going to have an end.
Yeah, and he was on the wall, and I can't remember who was with him. Was it Beric or was it? It was Beric, wasn't it?
Yeah, Beric and
So we think Beric and Tormund made it off the wall. Where are Gendry the Hound, Jorah, the rest of the the posse that went up north?
Man, that's a great question.
I just don't even remember. Like, they all got rescued by the dragons. Presumably the dragons went to Dragonstone. I know I called it Dragon Keep a minute ago. Dragonstone. But these are all good things to you listeners. Go remind yourselves of where these people are. We didn't do any research on it.
What a great abdication of responsibility. Why don't you go?
Yeah, hey, we're just telling you what you should be on the lookout for.
Well, okay. Here, let's just real quick. Here's the summation for The Dragon and the Wolf, the last episode.
Okay.
August 27, 2017. Oh my God.
So long ago.
It feels like forever ago.
We were so innocent in those days.
At King's Landing, the White is presented. I thought that was an earlier episode. Wow. So the White, they present it to the Lannisters. Cersei's like, okay, all right. She demands Jon's neutrality, but he upholds his oath to Daenerys, provoking Cersei to leave. Tyrion meets privately with her. That was a really good scene. The Golden Company of Bravos is going to come back in. Cersei's later. She's just going to keep running up that debt. Jaime leaves. He deserts her, rides north. Bound for the White Harbor, Jon and Daenerys make love. At Dragonstone, Theon earns the respect of his men and leads them to rescue Yara. God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I put
that
him
was
in
a
our
great scene.
Too.
Sorry. And then at Winterfell, Littlefinger sows dissent. He gets killed. Sons they realize the true burn Targaryen. Yeah, and then Samwell arrives at Winterfell. He's there with Bran. He's just gotten there. They realize Jon is the Targaryen, so they now know that Jon is Aegon's son.
He tells Bran that, right?
Bran tells him because Bran sees it.
And Sam is able to confirm that the marriage was annulled.
Yeah,
that Rhaegar's marriage to what's her name Martell was annulled.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And so to answer your other earlier question, the episode right before that was the one where Jorah and everybody, it's basically the rescue party. And then the White Walker Corps of Engineers unearths the dragon.
Yeah.
After the greatest javelin throw in the history of television by the White King or the Night King.
Yeah.
Christ in heaven. That was amazing. So that gives us a basic sort of look. Euron is kind of the only question mark for me.
Okay, so you said the Golden Company comes back into it.
Well, she mentions it. She's talking to Jaime, and he's like, seriously, we've got to see reality. She's like, I hired the Golden Company again. He's like, you're an idiot. You're gonna owe so much money to the Golden Company. She's like, that's all right. I'll make it work. And then he's like, forget it. I'm going.
So Theon presumably has taken his men. I also can't remember if they're in a proper ship or if they're in like a dinghy. If he's in like Gendry's boat, but presumably they're going to King's Landing.
They're going to go rescue Yara. Which,
granted, like King's Landing doesn't have the defenses and the city's kind of in chaos a little bit, but still, like
But Euron's got Yara. They may just be going.
Euron has Yara. He didn't. No, I thought but he gave her to Cersei. Like he presents her.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and then Euron just runs scared at the end of or in the middle of the last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Yara's in the prisons in King's Landing unless they retcon that.
You are right.
So I was telling you offline that I was speculating wildly with some friends the other night, and one of them said that Euron was probably dispatched to get the Golden Company, which I hadn't put together. Like, I don't think it's unreasonable that they bring him back in that way because his departure was really strange. I mean, also his departure was very logical. Like he was like, I'll just ride out this battle and then we'll come back and sweep up.
Do you see a scenario where the Golden Company, headed by the wonderful Mark Gatiss, if you're a Doctor Who or Sherlock fan, he, do you imagine them looking at Euron going, Cersei owes us a lot of money. We'll pay you to go basically wipe out King's Landing. And you know what? You can just be king if you want to, and you'll owe us. And he'll be like, yeah, I mean, is that, because Euron wouldn't still be around if there wasn't a weird chance that he could actually become king of Westeros. Well, that would be the only way I could see it happening.
Time to share one of my other kooky theories, which I stumbled upon randomly the other night as I was chatting about this with people, was we were talking about the prophecies and the Valonqar prophecy, which that word, I guess, is supposed to mean little brother. And it just sort of bolt of the blue. I went, wait, isn't Euron a little brother? What if Euron is the prophesied little brother that kills Cersei?
Whoa.
And he returns with the Golden Company and just trounces her and kills her because she wouldn't marry him, and he just really wants the power and the throne.
That is a fantastic notion. I never thought of that.
Because I don't.
God dang it.
I know, like, especially with the stupid dragon rescue mission last season, we're not really getting hung up on distances anymore. Mm-hmm. But it just doesn't seem like there's a good way for Jaime or Arya, who's the other suspected Valonqar, to appear in King's Landing to kill Cersei, unless it's in the middle of some other sort of confrontation. Like it's not.
I think Arya's list is. I mean, it seems like, if she has the opportunity, but I don't think it doesn't seem like she's jonesing to finish her list because so many people. I don't think so either. Yeah, got there first, and she's reunited with her family.
Yeah.
But here's a real quick tangent on that. Does Jaqen H'ghar make a return appearance this season at all?
I've been wondering the same thing. And I don't know how he fits into anything. So I really hope we saw his farewell, like that moment where she says, like, a girl is Arya Stark or whatever. I hope.
But then doesn't she have a blood debt to pay the faceless men? Because it seems like he let her get off. Like he even said, like, no one leave. Once you start this, you don't stop. Like, you're one of us forever.
But he did say that the debt was like, one face is returning here tonight. So presumably when she delivered the face of the waif, like, that's it. I don't know.
Unless you're one of those idiots who thinks that the waif is actually Arya and just is basically killed Arya and took her face and she's running around Westeros right now. I'm like, no. Yeah. We're not going to get to season 8 and learn that the waif has been secretly Arya for 2.5 seasons. No, God almighty.
Rewatching that ridiculous Terminator 2 scene from the waif Arya battle. So, like, kind of aggravating all over again. Where, like, just even rewatching it, I did the same thing where she gets stabbed like 5 times in the stomach, and I was like, well, she's dead. Yep. And then thrown into like this filthy river, and I'm like, well, yeah, definitely infected, dead.
And then a pile of molten metal rises and takes shape in the form of Arya.
But not only that, but then she starts, getting some licks in on the waif, and the waif just keeps coming and like running along the rooftops and jumping over, and you're like, what the? This is so crazy. There's superheroes all of a sudden.
God, I forget about that.
Is Cersei still pregnant? Like, when the season begins, or are we?
I don't think she is. I don't even think she is. I think that was just a weird trick of her. Yeah, I think that was just a bluff to keep Jaime around.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think. It's what a weird thing to throw in at this stage,
Yeah, but if this is a good time to bring up those prophecies, she's had her children, and they've all had their golden shrouds. Although Tommen didn't really get his, she just told him to incinerate him, right?
I think so. More dragon fire.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing that's left for her is the death by the hands of the Valonqar.
So you think she has a kid? Maybe Jaime raises it with Brienne. Ooh.
So one of the theories that someone else shared the other night was that he thinks that there's going to be a big emotional moment, the reunion of Brienne and Jaime, and Jaime is going to watch Brienne die in battle, and then that's going to be sort of the last straw for him that incites him to go kill Cersei.
I don't think he'd go all the way back to kill Cersei.
I know. This same friend, his hypothesis for the structure of the series, and he may have looked at the directors like you did, is that there is a Battle of Winterfell, like early or midway through, and that is the White Walkers versus the humans, and then the remnants all go south, or King's Landing comes north for the final human on human battle.
I do think there has to be. I do. Everybody who tells me that the White Walkers, the big bad of this season, and that it's all about that, I'm like, it can't be. I like the symmetry of what you just described, because we've got, as we looked at the directors, we've got some quieter episodes to build up to that White Walker threat. And then you get that episode. But if you get too much of that, it's going to minimize all the previous, like Hardhome's not going to feel as special. So you got to keep these White Walker moments really nice and compact and kinetic. Also, they're expensive to do. So, the idea of there being 2 or 3 of them. And yeah, the idea of us going back to where we all started, which is who's going to ultimately sit on this throne in Westeros once the walkers are gone. That's really, it's not like we're going to fight the walkers and then all agree on a king after this is all over. Of course, there's going to be this contentious fight till the bitter end. That's been the whole point of this. Like, who's going to sit on this throne? And it may be such that you've got a potential child of Daenerys and Jon, and you've got a potential child of Cersei and Jaime. Ooh. That, maybe it's all about the future of one of these 2 kids is going to be, who ultimately sits on it. Like all the actions of the parents and the relatives has been for one of these 2 kids. I don't know.
Now, I really love the symmetry of like those 2 children.
Yeah.
But I love what you said there, because I think you're picking up on something I wasn't able to articulate, which is and it's great that it comes back in the season, because in the first season, from the first season to like the 4th or 5th season, I felt there was this tension between readers and viewers in that readers, and I don't want to generalize it, but I know the few that I talked to, I think we all, we had a similar takeaway, which was the books are written in this cool way where there's so much like human drama in them, but the interesting thing is that there's this existential threat from the north, like looming down on them. So whatever they're dealing with the throne, like who's going to, because for like the first 4 seasons, that's what everybody kept talking about, was like, who's going to sit on the throne? And I just felt like it doesn't fucking matter, because
even those promo posters with Sam sitting on the throne, you're like, fuck you. That's never going to happen.
Yeah. But now if they do structure the season that way, I think you're right, which is that they sort of wrap it up with who sits on the throne, which I think is a payoff to viewers specifically, because that's what they were asking themselves for several years. But it almost dismisses what readers might want to see, because at least I personally felt like when the White Walkers get there, it's going to sort of demonstrate in a very physical way, like, all your squabbling over this throne is meaningless. Like, you need to do away with this, you know? So, so that's an interesting way of like looking at, like, the way you described it is like, oh yeah, which payoff are they giving us? The one for the readers, where it doesn't matter anymore. Like maybe they just become a, feudal system or something, or the one for the viewers where it's like, oh, okay, we finally got an answer to, who owns the throne. And I think that a lot of the payoffs from last season help the readers out in like that sort of aspect, because Littlefinger I think was a huge contender for sitting on the throne. I think for a long time we were all led to believe like, wow, he keeps getting away with it. He's eventually I was about to say, like, somewhere he's going to find funding for that one building, and his reality show does really well, and half of Westeros falls for him.
Only give it to Littlefinger that he had his cunning was through the roof. Like, I mean, that guy, I wouldn't say he slept his way to the top, but he
legitimately cunned his way to the top.
Cunned his way to the top until Sansa. But like, look at the beauty of Littlefinger's trajectory is that his only weakness was his love for oh God, what the hell is Catelyn. And by extension Sansa when Catelyn died. So like that was his only weakness, was that. And that's what got him. I mean, that's what lost him the throne and got him killed at the end of the day, was not being able to control that, thinking that he could control it. And it was like Sansa used that to her advantage. I just love going back and rewatching that particular scene where Arya comes in, and as a viewer, you're like, clearly they're not fighting, and this is all just one big trap that Littlefinger's failed to see, clearly. And then, of course, it was. But just the beauty of that scene where Sansa's, Littlefinger's standing there all smug, and then to see, I forget his name, Kieran, whatever his last name, that actor's face, to see his face change from that smug to just the WTF face in the matter of like 2 seconds when she says Lord Baelish. Oh my God. So you've got certain characters left that it would be really satisfying to see either a triumphant moment a la Brienne or the Hound. That was one character, by the way, we didn't mention his current status or his, where is he at?
The Hound?
Yeah, or is he? No, he's with
he was in the Magnificent Seven, the posse.
That's right. God, Magnificent Seven. So does the Hound, do we finally get Clegane Bull, do you think, at some point?
So another theory I watched, another video with a crazy theory, was that Arya will be the one who kills the Mountain.
What?
And it was a laborious stretch for this guy to find clues on it.
Why do there have to be clues, though? Why can't it just be, this is what they want to do? Like, why does it have to be one big drawn out thing?
I could make so many great, like, less than 1 minute videos that just rebut Game of Thrones theories. Because my central premise would be George R. R. Martin wrote so many, like literally hundreds of thousands, but possibly like 1 million words on this already. That of course he used the same phrase over and over. Like, that was all this theory hinged on, was that this one description that was applied to Oberyn once was applied to Arya like 10 times. And I'm going, yeah, because George R. R. Martin wrote so many fucking words, he literally ran out of them. So yeah, he one time applied it to Oberyn. It's not a clue. Jesus Christ. Like, everything, nobody can be that deliberate.
It's like
it could be, but it doesn't like mean that it is,
It's crossed over into like conspiracy theorists and flat earthers and like people who think they have the secret knowledge that will unlock.
Which is basically that George R. R. Martin is the George Soros of this world. He has somehow manipulated every thread, to make the marijuana more powerful in order to sedate the masses, while the chemtrails make them sterile or whatever.
That's, it's that kind of shit that makes George R. R. Martin not want to write anymore. He's like, God almighty, can a character just do something just cause? Not because I've laid the careful groundwork over 55 chapters. Like, can't Arya just go down and get a milkshake? No, it has to be fated and seen in chapter 2 of book 3 because some sage told somebody else. Like, no, she's just gonna go get a milkshake. That's all she's going to do.
Don't you remember when Nymeria ate that leaf? That was a vanilla leaf.
God.
And Arya eating the vanilla milkshake.
Can you imagine being an author and having people come up to you at like autograph signings or what have you and be and deliver this to you in person, like these sort of long.
I cannot. But on the other hand,
I would just start laughing. I'd just be like,
you're writing after the third book, and it's the people coming up to him at conventions. They're like, "Oh my God, did Littlefinger take Sansa to the Vale?" And he's like, "Ooh, that's a good one."
Oh, maybe. Stay tuned. It's just like,
well, wise reader.
Yeah. What was that? Oh man, it's like he's like Stan Lee in The Simpsons. Remember that episode where Stan Lee just keeps hanging out at the comic shop? And he's like ripping off like ideas and stuff, and then taking Marvel books and putting them in the spinner racks in front of DC books. And he's like, and they're like, "You ruined it." He's like, "Ruined it or made it better?" Well, George R. R. Martin's just like that, just as unabashedly, just like, yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna. This is how I live now.
Hopefully, it's a good segue based on on that. What threads will irritate you if they are not tied off?
Ooh, good question. If they're not tied off.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Well, I'm firmly not in. I mean, at this point, if you're one of those people who says, no, Lady Stoneheart's a coming, don't you worry. Like, if that is certainly not something that I give two shits about. We passed that bridge long ago, and they clearly decided not. Like, I'm still seeing that. I'll go on Reddit or I'll go on IO9 and just look at the comment sections. And I'm still seeing people, just like you described, going out of their way to try to make a Lady Stoneheart return makes sense. I'm like, she's been dead in a swampy pond. Like, if she's coming back as a White Walker that gets promptly killed with fire by somebody. It's not, this idea that she's going to be like commanding soldiers or some shit. I'm just like, no, Lady Stoneheart's not a thing. I would say,
can Robb come back with the wolf's head as a White Walker?
Oh, gross. That would be the new gross thing on the list. That would be my number one.
He comes back while suckling at Lady Stoneheart's breast.
I don't want to see that.
Wolf head.
The aborted baby fetus in his wife's womb comes back out. It's like, it just becomes a Roger Corman movie all of a sudden. Like, what the hell? Like, what is this?
Too far.
What is going on? Like, well, you started it with Wolf's head on Rob's corpse zombie body. No, let's get back on track.
Can the fray that Lord Walder ate come back in his stomach?
Oh God.
Sorry, I'm way off the deep end here.
Well, Todd, according to the Rapture, you're in the spirit of your condition when you die. I would say I really. Well, it's tricky because they're going to cover the important stuff. We're going to get a proper ending to the main 6 or 7 characters on this show.
Yeah.
So that's not up for consideration. I would say going back to the Golden Company, it would kind of bum me out if we never found out. Like if they just sort of became this non-entity, especially after they've been painted as like, we always, the Lannisters collect their debts. We collect the Lannister debt. That's how awesome. That's how serious we are. Yeah. I kind of want to see what happens when you borrow that much money without any consequence.
Well, no, they did pay it off because the money went ahead when they robbed the Tyrrells. So she did pay off the first part of that debt and then hit them up for more.
That's right. I think. Okay.
So they're not in as deep as they were, which I actually was hoping that would be a big point of suspense for the season. Because I believe we debated this on an episode because I think our roles were reversed. I'm pretty sure you had to talk me into like the money made it out safely because I thought the dragon burned up the money and it was
no, you're right. That's right. Because the wagon did go first.
Yeah.
They sent it. Okay. That was the whole point of that scene. I'll say specifically if Theon doesn't get a worthwhile ending, because he's kind of a main character, but he's kind of an ancillary character now.
Yeah.
So I really want to see him have some kind of redemptive ending or heroic ending, given his very fraught character journey. That's probably my one.
I was interested in finding out where you fell on that because I definitely think there's a large consensus that wants that, and that came up the other night when these friends were talking about it. And one thing I suggested was I felt like that moment should have been him sacrificing himself to save Yara at the hands of Euron, and when they missed that. Like when he jumped in the water, not that was out of character or anything, but I think that was the last moment where I just went, this kid is irredeemable. And
yeah, I remember we talked about that. I don't
care after that because it was like, dude, that was it. That was your moment. And I mean, it was a great dramatic moment where he, that moment of like the look on both of their faces and like, Yara kind of realizing he was going to be a coward again.
See, and that made me want it even more. I saw that. I'm like, I want even more than I did. I want him to have a counterbalance on the other side where he, he should have made the decision there. But if they don't give that to him now in this final season, it will feel like a really big missed opportunity.
Well, I think the other way that could have gone down, like just, and I'm spoiler alert, not a professional television writer. But I think the other way to have written that scene, like that scene could have gone either way and still been the end of Theon's arc. In other words, he could have just swum off to Essos and that's it. And we never hear from him again.
Wow.
Or he could have stepped in and killed Euron at that moment. But because he did neither, that's where I lost care for him. I'm just like, I don't know. To me, he's like an even worse Kylo Ren, another character that I don't want redeemed,
Kylo, that's a different horse of a different color if there ever was one. That there's some similarities, but
a different coat.
Yeah. There we go.
The Reigns of Castamere. Towards that point, do you think that anything George R. R. Martin writes after this almost becomes a retcon of, like, in other words, is the TV series now canon and George R. R. Martin is the fan fiction?
Well, there's a good question. I would say it's in the eye or ear of the beholder or the viewer. I don't know why I threw ear in there. The eye was fine.
In the mouth. The mouth of the beholder.
The radio play, the loyal radio play audience, Todd. They have got to win. No, I would say because for a lot of people, this show is all they're ever going to consume.
Right.
And I would say for the vast majority of people, the show is all they're going to ever consume. Even if you read a book, there maybe, I would say most of the people who've watched the show, 80% of them have either read nothing or have read a book, and the rest, like the other 20%. And nothing against the books, just the people. Yeah. A lot of people have not read these books. I'm sorry, it's not.
And it's not going to happen. Like, there's way too many words to read.
Way too many. So for a lot of people, the show is canon, no matter what you say. And then for book readers, I'm sure they'll look at it. If the show ends in a way that's satisfying to them, and the book ends in a different but still equally satisfying way, I think there will be readers who go, oh, and then that will be the fun of the next 30, 40 years is debating the nuances between these amazing endings.
Yeah.
Now, if one fails miserably, if the show pulls a lost, or if the books pull a lost, or they both pull a lost, then it's going to be the opposite.
Which is that's a good point to interject the comment I made to you last week, which is I was thinking of this, and it kind of hit in my head that George R.R. Martin is like the dungeon master that has led, like, if this is a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, he's gone way too far into like his own world building. And Benioff and Weiss are like the players who are like, we just want our characters to like make it to level 20.
Yeah.
Right? So they're the ones that had to sort of step in and like drive the campaign back to a suitable narrative ending.
Yeah.
But I actually agree. I think George R. R. Martin almost becomes fan fiction after this. Maybe he becomes like that person who is the keeper of all Star Wars lore at Disney, who makes sure everything lines up. But I don't think his story really matters after this. Because if he does significantly change stuff, it's not gonna fit with what's already burned into our brains.
We've debated this endlessly though, but like I would even take it out of our point of view, give it to him. Would you actually want to finish, because this next book is not the final book. There's another book after this one, right? So he's got to finish this one and then put out another one to end the series in book form. Would you really want to spend 1,000 pages describing 75% of what you saw on TV? Even if like you shared your outline with the guys, like, hey, this is where my story's going. I mean, then you see it because clearly he's watching all these episodes probably several times. Do you want to sit there and try to write out? I mean, like at that point, you're a transcriber. You're not an author anymore. You can put your own flourishes and twists and turns, but if you're largely replicating a lot of what you saw, that just must really be deflating. So do you get a book even?
Oh man. I was just thinking how funny it would be if he showed up at a convention and was like, honestly, I stopped watching after they raped Sansa. That's when they just went off the rails. George R. R. Martin's like, I'm out.
Wow.
Sure, I had the mountain crush Oberyn's head, but that was a line too far.
But I mean, I just said it out loud and I'm still astounded by it. Then everybody kind of talks as though this final book, this next book, I should say, is the final book. It's not. Oh. It's not. And this book has taken 8 years, 9 years.
Well, and you said exactly what I was going to say a minute ago, which is like either he writes something that's totally different and we don't feel like these are our characters, or he just describes in a different way what we all watched. And we're like, why am I reading this? Plus he's got literally 1,000 more threads to tie up.
Oh, hell yeah.
And his characters aren't anywhere near where they are in the show. I mean, frankly, I don't know how you can even do it in 2 books. Like, this guy is if nothing else, we've learned that he is a terrible outliner. Or at least he doesn't stick to it after he outlines.
But I mean, but then we get stuff like, I'm holding it right now, the World of Ice and Fire.
Oh yeah.
That he wrote all this canon. Now some other artists beautifully illustrated it, but he wrote this entire Silmarillion style book for Game of Thrones, which is wonderful. Like, I prefer him to do this kind of thing.
Yeah. Exactly. No, totally.
And maybe this is, we beat this to death in other episodes, but maybe this is the first time we actually get to see what happens when a franchise is built off of one medium, jumps to the other medium, and that beats it to the end. Maybe it'll just be common practice that, hey, when books and TV shows and movies all kind of live in this amorphous soup, the books don't necessarily have to finish.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that jumps us off, and it's just that thing that we always think about fondly and you know, pontificate on or something. Because here's the other dangerous side of this equation. For the longest time, everybody's like, wow, I wonder what George Lucas would have kept doing if he had kept making Star Wars movies. Because in the interim between Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace, we had all these books and all these other things in parallel mediums that at that point, Disney has since reversed a lot of this, but at that point, all of that was considered canon. So then here comes George going, I'm going to finish my vision. And everybody went, yay. And then we saw what his vision was. We're like, oh God, no, we don't want this. And not to say George R.R. Martin is going to fail that way, but I mean, he's been at this so long now. And the fact that the show has done such interesting things ahead of him, where's the thrill? Where's the impetus to keep going?
When they passed him by in season 5, I think that's a big come to Jesus moment of like, he should have changed what he was going to put out in the Game of Thrones world after that. And I don't know that he did. I don't know that he didn't either. I'm not trying to be cynical about that. But like you, like the World of Ice and Fire, or that recent like history of the Targaryens or whatever they just put out, like, or even the Duncan Egg stories or whatever, like whatever he's written towards these next books, just start putting it out as like sort of side lore. I mean, if I were trying to market this, I think I would actually put the first 3 books together and call that, you know, the Song of Ice and Fire or something like that. And then everything else is like Silmarillion kind of material, you know, books 4 and 5 are just the continuing adventures of Jon Snow. Or something like that. Cause I just don't, I know that it doesn't actually get to the Song of Ice and Fire, but it's just too much. It's too much lore to pretend as a narrative.
Well, let's speculate wildly.
We've already speculated on some of these.
But let's get, like, these are the things that I think everybody's going to be asking and talking about and calling their friends up like, is this going to happen? And we did kind of cover a few of these, but here we go again. Who should sit on the Iron Throne when this is all said and done?
Gendry.
I thought you were going to say Sam. I was gonna be, God damn it.
The only Baratheon left.
Hey man, now that you say that out loud, that he is a dark horse candidate.
Well, okay, so now not to bring in too much of the prophecy or become one of the flat Earth Game of Thrones truthers out there, but in Dany's vision from like season 2 or 3,
where she's in the temple.
There is like what we think is snow falling on the Iron Throne. And then some people have speculated maybe it is ash, and maybe that is what has happened after her dragons have burned it. I don't know about that. I do think it's the snow coming to King's Landing. But in a moment where she is finally seeing the Iron Throne and there's snow coming, I she has to be in King's Landing for that to happen. So I think that
it could also be metaphorical. It could also mean Jon Snow sitting on the all that nonsense. I think it's going to be the child of Dany and Jon, and in a wonderfully poetic way, that child will be the Song of Ice and Fire, like the sort of the melding of these two. Because Jon's a Targaryen, but he's lived his life in the North. He is of the North. He is as much Ned Stark's son as Robb was, if more so even probably. And so he is winter, she is fire. Their child will be the Song of Ice and Fire and the Dream of Spring and all of these things. And that will be who ultimately sits on the throne. I think maybe up until that point, and this gets us into our next question a little bit, but I'm almost imagining like Tyrion becomes its like Merlin, like helps raise it. In a way that makes sense, becomes the hand of the king for the hand of the queen or king or whatever the child's gender is forever.
So you're saying that what we've gotten from George R. R. Martin is a 7+ pro-incest treatise.
Yes.
It starts out with a horrible attack on a young boy who catches Jaime and Cersei in a moment of incest.
Oh, wow. I never even thought about that.
And then wraps up with like, no, but sometimes it's good.
Well, you think about, I'm almost even imagining like a line of dialogue, because you remember Tyrion got along with the 2 younger Lannister kids very well. So I can almost imagine him like, holding the new baby, like, both the parents are dead. He's like, not all children of incest are bad. My niece and nephew were good. Something where he's like going on, like trying to reference it. So this gets us into our next question. Who lives? Who dies?
I'm going to take it right off of what you just said, because I don't have any dogs in this fight, or dogs in this hunt, or whatever that expression is. But I do think Tyrion's death, should that happen, would be one of the most poignant moments of the show, or could be. So I wonder how much they're going to lean into that, like killing off the beloved characters. Because I can see him going out and like, wow, that dude is honorable and like a true hero kind of thing.
Well, let's lightning round it. I have it pulled. I have the main characters pulled up. Daenerys.
I honestly think almost everyone's a goner. I think she dies.
I do too.
Childbirth.
I think. There's an.
If you think that's I mean, if we were to put bones on her actually being pregnant, her dying in childbirth is another like poetic recall of Jon's birth.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay, so she dies. Jon Snow, I think, dies definitely.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder. I would have thought that for sure. Like, I guess it's sort of like, to me, it's one or the other.
They've built him up to be. Yeah. They've built him up to be like his father's son. He's gonna have the noblest ending of human history, or whatever that was in Infinity War with like Wakanda's like, it would be the noblest end in history. I think that's what they're headed.
Unkillable, like I see him more in that line of like, but I see him like a Beric Dondarrion figure where he could actually fall in battle and Melisandre brings him back again.
Oh, poor guy.
I don't know. I really haven't speculated about that in my own head until just now out loud. But I don't think it's likely that she is pregnant. So I do think there's a high likelihood that Jon ends up on the throne alive.
Oh, okay.
And that he is literally the Song of Ice and Fire because his parents were in the Targaryen, the Stark and the Targaryen.
Let's go a little faster through these next ones.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. Those are the two most important characters at this juncture. So some context is key. Gregor Clegane. Dead. Arya.
What about you?
Oh, sorry. Gregor. Yeah, I think he dies either fighting the Hound, the Mountain, or doing something incredibly badass and heroic at the end with the White Walker battle. Arya.
God, I don't even want to speculate, but I hope she makes it.
I think she goes.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Do you think? Okay. I mean, I know it was an April Fool's joke that she said on the Tonight Show when she was like, "When Arya dies in the second episode," but is there worth in speculating when that is? You think it's late in the season? You think
it's late? It's late. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, I think it either has to do
with
the
battle of the humans, not in the battle against the undead.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. I think I'm imagining some moment where she and Lady Mormont have to fight back to back in some like just amazing White Walker, duel scene. Oh Jesus! Can you imagine?
God, that scene with Brienne and Arya so many times.
Oh God, I forget about that. I want that so much. All right, Cersei.
I do think she's gonna die. I think there'll be some like comeuppance.
Yeah, I think at this point I'd be disappointed if there wasn't. Tyrion.
I think there's a good likelihood that he's going.
I'm equally assured he's going to live. I think he's going to be one of the. There will be a few smattering left, and I think he's a key. Think about all the lesson, how much he has evolved, and how much he's been looking for a family and a home. And if at the end of the day there's a smattering of people left, and maybe it's Jon and Daenerys' kid, maybe it's Arya, maybe there's just a handful of people left, Gendry or something. Like that can be his new family, and he will have finally proven Tywin wrong. Like, look, I was a better father figure leader than you were.
We should offline. You and I should record these answers and put them on our Instagram as like a record of like where we differ on those things.
Ooh, good point. Sansa.
I think she makes it. I hope she makes it.
I had said Gregor Clegane earlier, thinking I was talking about the Hound. So Gregor is the Mountain, Sandor is the Hound.
Yes.
I think they both die.
I agree.
I mean, the Mountain's going to die no matter what.
What do you think about?
He's already dead.
Sansa, though.
Oh God, she's the one that I don't have a clean take on.
Okay.
I can pretty clearly see her becoming the Lady of the North.
Yeah.
With whatever's left after it's all over. They're going to need somebody up there to sort of manage all that. And she's proven herself worthy of that. You know, that's kind of her prize at the end of all this. Brienne.
I would really love to see her make it, but I don't think so.
She's a big question mark too.
I think she's going in a really tragic, heroic death.
Okay. Gendry.
I don't care either way. I mean, you know what I prefer is that he's on that boat at the end.
Oh, me too. Me too.
There's the merman splish splashy next to him. But I really don't have a good read on him. I mean, I think he and Beric, I think can go or stay. You know, I don't know if they have a bigger role to play anymore.
Melisandre.
I think she goes for sure.
Yeah, I think Davos killed her. That's been coming for a while. We need to see that.
What about Davos as
Davos? I think he's gone. I think he has served his purpose as a character in more ways than one, and we just need him to have a heroic out.
Yeah.
Along
the same line,
Jorah. Jorah. Ooh. You know, I almost think that Jorah. I'm just trying to think of like the most appropriate ending for these characters.
Exactly. That's kind of
Jorah was kind of a coward in the beginning. Yeah. You know, his father enlisted in the Night's Watch. His father was who kind of took Jon Snow under his wing, and Jorah has kind of been on this path to like prove that he's not a coward, to prove that he's like more worthy than what his father thought.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like he's gonna want to have a heroic death, and it's gonna be denied him, and so he's just gonna have this he's gonna have this sort of this shame haunting him. Because Daenerys will be dead, everybody will be gone, and he'll just be this old tragic knight that just never got his moment.
That is so much crazier. Yeah, that is intricate. Because I think like he's a goner for sure.
I mean, that's the easy way to go. I mean, there's so many characters that to like thread these needles also delicately. Like they're just gonna have to do some hand waving on some of these guys.
Oh yeah, of course. What about
like Bronn? Well, let's do Bronn first because I'm looking at him right now.
I think he's a scrapper. I think he's gonna make it.
I mean, they've already given him a weird twist of like having this sort of, wealthy lifestyle now and a wife and everything. Yeah, he's just gonna
become like king of the Riverlands.
Exactly.
The Freys are gone. He just takes over.
He's like everything. He's like, and he starts like, he's like one of those guys that would be like, like he's like the Jordan Belfort of Westeros. The guy from that Leonardo DiCaprio, what the hell, Wolf of Wall Street. He sort of lucked into this position, and he keeps exploiting it for all it's worth. And he's going to be selling you a get rich quick scheme when it's all said and done. Like, call my number now. Bronn's way is the best way. What about Bran?
I think he makes it, but he's like a supernatural being at this point. Like he could quote make it, but like his body no longer exists, and he just lives in a tree.
Are you of the opinion that he is the three-eyed raven in reverse? Like he's the younger version of what we saw?
Oh, I know. I guess we've talked about that before. I don't have any strong thoughts about it, but I think what I've thought all along, especially through the books and stuff, is that they are one of the two religions that actually works. It's like the religion of the seven.
Ooh,
they don't. Yeah, they're not like active, but the old religion, which is Bran's, like is actually magical and actually inhabits the spirits, the crows and the trees and stuff like that.
Children of the forest, all that.
And then the Lord of Light, obviously like has actual magic, but only those two work. I'll tell you a crazy speculation that got thrown out the other night was that and not actually speculation about the show, but I guess there was in the books at Hardhome, they see creatures in the water, like if they're leaving. And there's been these speculations about the book that those are the Kraken.
Oh, Jesus.
Although I think technically on a map, the Iron Islands, where the Kraken is the sort of figure in their religion, I think that's on the other side of the continent. So I don't, from Hardhome. So I don't necessarily give that.
Okay. All right.
But if we got Kraken in this last season, that would be unbelievable.
Man, That's when you knew Aquaman had gone too far. I think that's when a Kraken shows up, your movie or TV show has probably jumped the shark. That's the new
drumming
adage.
octopus.
Oh, that's true. Let's go really quickly through these next ones. Just a up or down of the thumb, Roman style. Theon.
Down.
Jamie.
Ooh, close call. I got either way.
Yeah, same. Varys.
I think he makes it.
I do too. Yeah, I'm gonna give a thumbs up. Sam.
Yeah, I think he makes it.
Yeah, I'll say up too. Tormund.
Up. I think he's making it too.
I'm gonna say he goes.
Really? He's another one like Jamie, where I feel like we've reached a good end of his story. Like if that's where the story ended, that's okay. But I also think he's a scrapper. He could make it out of there.
Missandei.
Dead. Yeah, for sure. Wait. Oh, sorry. I was like,
man, you were ready to brand her. Dead.
But I was thinking Melisandre.
Off with her head.
Yeah. I don't know. She's certainly lasted longer than any of the rest of Daenerys's retinue.
True.
I don't know, boy. But along those same lines, what about Grey Worm?
Grey Worm's gone.
Yeah. Do you think all the Unsullied are gone, or such a significant number of them? Yeah.
I think most of them get wiped out in the White Walker battle.
Yeah, I think it's we're going to see a moment of all of them charging in. And
I think a lot of Dothraki and most of the Unsullied are gone.
Yeah, isn't that nice that they bring the brown people over from the other continent to just get murdered at the hands of literally white men?
White people, yeah. That's going to be a wonderful meme to spread around for a while. Is Podrick still alive?
Yes. We saw him in The Wolf and the Dragon, or whatever that episode was called.
That's right.
Because he's with Brienne, right?
Yep. So Podrick, I think he lived.
Yeah.
He lived to see the other. I mean, that guy's, you can't keep that guy down.
Yeah, you can't. That magical dick has got to survive.
we did Davos. He's going to go. Everybody else is either dead or not of consequence. Am I forgetting anybody major?
Any other Starks that are left standing?
Nope.
What about some minor ones, but Yara?
Oh yeah, I think Yara lives.
Okay.
She's got to be king. She's got to be queen of the Iron Islands. That's got to happen.
Definitely do not need to do this. But do you think there's going to be a cutscene to Ilaria and her daughter in that prison cell?
Who's Ilaria?
Sand, or Elia Sand, or Ilaria Sand.
Ilaria God!
Sand. She's chained up in a prison watching her own daughter die.
Oh, gross! That would be the new gross scene. Just a cut to that. I think that's, if we're gonna show that, we may as well show what the head mistress of. Well, no, she died. Never mind. I was gonna say
No, she's not dead. Remember?
Oh, she's not.
Because Cersei leaves her with the mountain.
That's right. So she may still be alive too.
You think you're gonna die today? No.
So we don't need to see. I mean, once that door closes, that kind of closes their door on the character ever showing up again. Sadly, it's no.
Yeah. Do you think we care if something happens to Qyburn? Is that gonna get wrapped up? So what about Pycelle?
Wow.
No, Pycelle got stabbed to death. Sorry.
No, Qyburn. Yeah, no, Qyburn's the new guy. I think if Qyburn's so connected to Cersei, if she goes, he goes.
Yeah.
So if she died, I can't see that guy living past. I mean, if there's a battle between King's Landing and everybody else, that guy goes. He probably, and it's probably through his own hubris. He probably lights some kind of dragon fire around himself in a weird way, and it catches him on fire, and he's like, ah. I mean, here's the real question. Does this and this is sort of there's one more question after this, two more. For me, the biggest question of season 8 is, does this end on a high note or a low note? Meaning, does the seven kingdoms end up in a better place or a worse place than when we started this season?
Well, then when we started the season,
yeah,
that's negligible. I think it's worse for the fact that two huge wars are basically going to be conducted there. but better in that I don't really see like the threat of like the White Walkers. Like it may not be fully banished; it may come back in another 1,000 years or something.
But does Cersei live to remain queen, and everybody else dies? Like, is it gonna be grim like that?
So annoying to me, just like not because I hate that character so much, but it would just be, why did we watch all this? Like we're just back in the same thing. But I do like that you said the Seven Kingdoms, because I had brought up like a map and the names from the books of like the kings of all the kingdoms, thinking like maybe that's a good way to go into the season, and wondering who survives, because the Freys are dead. Like Arya poisoned all of the Freys.
Yeah.
And the Freys had basically taken over the Riverlands from Catelyn's family. What are they called? The Blackfish family, the Tullys. And so they're wiped out. The Tullys are wiped out. The Martells are totally wiped out. Wait. Oh, Martells are not wiped out. Sorry. The Dornish people in the same.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's just like they did kill Prince.
The Tyrells are gone. The most of the Martells are gone. Right?
Well, no.
There was a prince that
daughters took over from Prince Doran.
But there was that other prince that was like Marcella was going to marry or was promised to,
and he was killed.
He was killed.
Okay, the people, the actual like rest of the I mean, I guess you're right. Like the royal family basically died, and the Tyrells are just totally wiped out because of that battle. The Lannisters are no longer holding the rock. You know.
Did Kevin die, or is Kevin still running around?
Kevin. I mean, I know who that
Lannister.
Is. Yeah. Oh,
because he was last seen, I thought, as the new hand, like in season 5 when Cersei was in the jail, so Pycelle comes down, or no?
I think there's a deal where he went back to the Rock, like when Cersei came back into power. I think he left for the Rock. I'm not totally sure, and I don't know that we ever got any follow up after the Unsullied took the Rock.
Oh, that's right. That did happen.
And so that's interesting. And then there's the Reach, the Kingdom of the Reach, which has almost never been mentioned in the show. So I don't.
Bear Island obviously is holding firm.
Well, yeah, and that's the North, so that's not like a separate kingdom. So and the Vale also no longer has leadership because
Littlefinger got axed.
Littlefinger's dead, and Lysa.
Yeah, but the Vale had a almost like council of elders that seems to like, I think they're holding it down.
But also Robin's still alive.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have their Lord of the Vale is Robin. Ugh. So I wonder if Sansa will like end up actually marrying that kid.
Oh Jesus. That kid needs to be killed now, so that he doesn't grow up to be like a even worse, like sort of megalomaniac than Cersei or any of the evil Lannisters that started all this to begin with. It's God.
So maybe I pulled us off topic by going through all that, but you had brought up that idea of the Seven Kingdoms, and I guess where I was leading that was the kingdoms as they were at the start of the show just do not exist anymore. Yeah. So I can't say like better or worse from one season to the next, but the entire continent has been reshaped. And so is Essos, frankly, because Daenerys did so much crazy shit over there.
That's true. Yeah.
This is, they've waged like 2 world wars before the, horribly literal metaphor of climate change hits them. So that's what we're getting this season is like the climate change hits them and then another human war. And boy.
Final question. How do they stop the White Walkers?
Oh, I don't know. I have a wild theory that I saw online, but do you have any theories?
I think it's going to have to be a combination of dragons. So there's 2 good dragons. I'm sure one of them goes down fighting the other dragon. So there probably leaves one final third dragon to go to King's Landing if need be, or they both get wiped out. But we're at least losing 2 dragons during all this. I think that's part of it. I think all the dragon glass that they've been mining furiously since Jon Snow showed up, that's going to come into play. So it's going to be a lot of traditional warfare, just with crazy kinetic, racing zombies running at you at full blast. But a lot of that dragon glass will be put to use. The Azor Ahai sword, I think is going to be part of it, because I think at some point Jon needs to confront the Night King and slay him, and I think that either gives him control of that army, or they all sort of like the Chitauri, they just stop functioning once the Night King is gone.
No, I totally agree with that functioning thing. Another crazy theory I saw on how they're animated seems to hint at that as well. So do you think that Long Claw becomes the sword?
We saw it happen in Hardhome. Like, we saw that sword for the first time, like, get its true use as that sort of unstoppable sword that, and then what's his face lit it on fire, and so they were scared of it. Like the White Walker, the guy on the horses, the White Walkers on the horses were just like, no, what? And then it killed one of the generals, if you recall.
Yeah, but they didn't light it on fire.
Something happened where it was like, I have to go back and rewatch it now, but it was revealed that sword is a pretty special sword. Like it is a White Walker killer, and Jon knows it.
It's Valyrian steel. And it's one of those weird things too, where like book readers, we've probably kept track of all the Valyrian steel swords because Arya's needle is Valyrian steel as well. In fact, in the books, you never heard of a sword that wasn't Valyrian steel. Like if any major character were carrying a sword, it's made of Valyrian steel. But Brienne has one. Presumably Jaime has one.
Arya has one.
Jon has one. Arya's dagger is Valyrian steel, and so in the Wolf and the Dragon, or the Wolf and the Lion, or whatever that last episode was, Jon does say that, like when he brings the white out, he explains like dragon glass can kill him, Valyrian steel can kill him, and whatever. So I totally agree with you. Like there's something special about Longclaw, but I think in Hardhome, I think it was just them realizing that Valyrian steel would actually work against them.
The preview, though, so in the previously on Game of Thrones, like the clip before the Hardhome episode, they had a scene. They call out a scene specifically where Jon is given that sword, and it was like really they locked in on that. This is special, and then you're right. It doesn't light on fire, but he fights that White Walker general with it, and it explodes him as soon as he gets.
And I'm kind of wondering if they will light it on fire, or if it will like naturally light on fire in a battle with more of them or something. Well,
Derek Dondarrion seems to.
Yeah, exactly. No, and it was so crazy when they did the Magnificent Seven episode, where we also learn, I guess, at that moment that what's his name's also, he can also light his own Thoros. Like
Thoros
two lightsabers.
yeah.
So the crazy theory I saw online, and I can't remember the place, and it's been several weeks since I saw this, was that because of the way, so for example, at Hardhome, all those wildlings were killed. And at the end of it, as all the boats are going off into the sea, the Night King raises his arms, and all of the wildlings raise up.
Yep.
And they don't have those crystal blue eyes, but we understand them to be now, I don't know, there's some distinction between White Walkers and just whites or something. But when he resurrects the dragon, is it Valerian? Anyway, or Viserion maybe? When he resurrects the dragon, he actually has to touch it, and its eyes turn blue, like when
he touches the baby.
When he touches the baby, exactly. So there is some weird theory that is reversible.
What?
Like if you were to hit that with the dragon glass, maybe it doesn't explode because it's not a white. It is a White Walker, I guess, or whatever the difference is. It's the thing that just like is now controlled by him, and that control can be undone. So they could kill the Night King and have a third dragon back on their side.
But the dragon's still dead. Like its soul has left its body. I thought that, this
I know.
is just like an reanimated corpse.
Wild theory was that they can turn the dragon back so they have three dragons on their side.
I think it's the Chitauri. I think as soon as he goes down, they just all, the dragon just falls from the sky, and all the
because of the Hardhome scene. Like if he was able to raise them all up, if he dies, I think they all collapse.
Yeah.
So
there's gonna be this epic scene, and maybe like that's. You ask yourself, well, like, if they flee Winterfell, or if they have to leave or something, just this idea that the White Walkers keep pushing further and further south, we'd never finish it in 6 episodes. They have to stop them at Winterfell or not at all.
Yeah.
Like, and there's probably going to be a line of dialogue in the episode that extends. Like, we stop them here, or they run across and convert every single one of us.
Yeah.
All the men, women, and children of Westeros will all be turned into zombies unless we do it right now. Sorry, go ahead.
They hand waved the magic in the wall. Like, Benjen gives that thing about the powerful magic was weaved into the wall. Yeah. And then the fucking dragon just melts it. But that same magic is in the walls of Winterfell. So presumably the White Walkers can't get in there unless Viserion melts it. So just another thought. Yeah. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah, man. This has been
talking about this for like 2 more hours, I'm sure.
Well, the problem is we went 2 years almost without doing this. Year and a half and some change, but still. So it's if you liked what you heard, if you're still listening, go back, search and subscribe for Wednesday in Westeros. You'll hear our past seasons, past episodes. Get caught up on Game of Thrones if you'd like. Yeah. You can join us for all 6 episodes this season. We're actually going to release on Mondays, so it'll be Wednesday in Westeros, but on Mondays, right after the episode debuts. So you'll be able to catch up right that next morning, unless something horrible goes wrong on our side. Search for Wednesday in Westeros wherever you find podcasts. Subscribe, tell your friends, let us know what you think. If you're a Panelism listener, we'd love to have you aboard on this show. And if you're Wednesday.
From time to time, probably leave some Westerosi stuff on the Panelism Instagram. We're not going to have a separate Wednesday in Westeros Instagram or anything, so follow us on Instagram at panelism.inc. And I also wanted to plug that our friend Emily Kelly Cunin will probably be joining us for almost every episode.
That'd be great.
She's definitely brings the excitement and book reader knowledge to this that helps us out a ton. So we look forward to that.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. Well, until then, Todd, what's our typical ending for the show? I don't think I even remember.
I don't have one, but I had one more thing to mention, which is we have already recorded next week's episode of Panelism. So if you're a Wednesday in Westeros listener that somehow got this, go subscribe to Panelism. Next week is about Shazam. And I'm telling you now so that you've got another whole week in which to go catch that movie. We talk about it with spoilers. So, listen to both Wednesday in Westeros and Panelism. That's my ending.
Well, my ending is, may the Lord of Light bless you and yours this holiday season.
That's right. Oh, we had something with that. Oh,
and that could just be the end right there.
Yeah, that will be the end. I'll fade it out on me grasping. What was that? Oh, fuck. You would say something. Were you saying something and I was saying...